retired, leaving Korea, and came back, and it was tough.
Welcome to the Healed Circle. All right, so this is where
I can tell you the difference.
Okay, yeah, tell me the difference. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Healed. It has been a few weeks, but it's great to be back. There's a lot of things that have taken place, like life, right? Life takes place. And so within the last, like I said, few weeks, there were a couple of losses that I've experienced, and traveling, and then you just have to take that time out for you and for family, right? We had Thanksgiving and everything, and taking an opportunity to give thanks for what it should be, not for what everybody say that it should be, right? So it takes time for that. But anyway, welcome, good morning, and good afternoon, wherever you are in the country and in the world. So a little bit about Healed, right? Healed with Seth is an opportunity to either have a conversation with you or with other guests to talk about their process as far as life happening or them happening in the world, right? Things that either happens to you or happens for you, but it may be traumatic. And the opportunity for this conversation is to talk and give to you, the viewer or the listener, what type of steps that we can take as individuals to overcome, right, those things. And so that's the type of dialogue that we have here. And also, this is an opportunity for you, if you can hear my voice and see my face, to help to support this podcast. And the way that you can do that is by being a Patreon subscriber, right, and contributor. What you get is exclusive content with either myself or the guests behind the scenes and other training. And what that does is help to connect with more people and to just support the channel. So there's ways that you can do that. Go to patreon.com/healed. All right. And for those that's watching, it's right there at the bottom. All right. You can go to Healed, and there's different ways that you can contribute. And I appreciate everyone that does that. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we're doing today. Oh, and hit the share, subscribe, thumbs up if you're if you're watching, no matter where you are right now. But what we're going to talk about today is fathers. All right, it's a difference between baby daddies and fathers, right? And individuals that's out there making babies. Y'all know that. But there's a struggle. There has always been a struggle that I believe in society, but being a father is hard to have these candid conversations about things that we go through. Why do you ask that? Because we are known as being the protectors. We are seen as being just hardcore all the time. And hey, daddy, fix it. Right? He got this. This is light work. Anybody can, if anything need to be done, give it to daddy. But the issue is, ladies and gentlemen, is that a lot of those things are myths. Okay. What I mean by that is there is no handbook. If it is, I haven't seen one, a handbook to being a great father. There isn't one. Where do men go to talk about the things that they're dealing with, not just as fathers, but also as men? Okay. That is hard. And so you're balancing life, understanding who you are, and still trying to show up for a new version of you, if that makes sense, another part of you. So today we're going to be talking about that. So make sure you're sharing this. This is going to be a real good conversation, and chime in too. Chime in. And for all the fathers that's out there, I would like to say thank you for being there, right? No matter what that looks like. Not in my view, but you know what you're doing. And if you're doing the best that you can, I salute you. And as a matter of fact, I applaud you. Okay? Because you may not get those thank yous all the time. It's just, hey, That's your job. You're supposed to do it. But there's individuals that's in that position that does a horrible job in it, and don't take full responsibility for it. You understand what I'm saying? They want the position, but they're not in line with all the things that comes with that. So I do want to say thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce our guest. This is a great guest. His name is George P. Brooks. Okay, so he's a mental health advocate, public speaker, and writer. So George has been living with mental illness since the age 7. All right, he has lived through abuse, weight loss surgery, childhood obesity, health issues, and addiction. So George has experienced raising a child, his son, with mental illness, and lived through divorce, trauma, and custody battles. So he also, in the interim of that, started a nonprofit, the Meta Association, a nonprofit organization committed to advocacy and awareness for discriminalizing and all types of issues that comes with mental illness. All right. And also, like I said earlier, he's a great advocate, for men. So George lives the challenges each day and counts the strengths and wisdoms he gained from his journey as a blessing. He has learned and experienced a lot and is eager to inspire others. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Mr. George Brooks.
Hello, how's everyone?
Hey, brother, how you doing? Good morning to you.
I'm blessed, thank you.
Yes. So look, man, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. What brings you to Heal this morning?
Well, one obviously talking about fatherhood, and I've had some unique experiences as far as being a father. And I feel as though in today's society there's somewhat of a lack of focus on fathers and fatherhood. And I'm looking to change that because I see how it is affecting our youth, how is it affecting our communities, and affecting us economically. So I'm really an advocate for that, for men, for fatherhood, not at the expense of anyone else, but to make sure that we as a group do what we can to try to help each other and be beneficial and help our communities and help our children and just be better.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. And thank you for being an advocate for that. So behind the stage, man, we had a conversation very briefly about what we believe is missing. For example, support systems. There is a lot of support systems out there and for women and children, but not many for men and children and fathers and children. So what do you think is missing, and how do you think we can do better in respects to that?
The first thing we need to do is really foster a sense of brotherhood. I feel as though that's the one thing that's missing. You do notice that there are more groups for focused on women, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but we have failed ourselves in the sense that we have not implemented such systems for ourselves as men. So one thing I'm a strong advocate for is a sense of brotherhood. I've actually started an online support group for men called Meta Men's Mentality on Facebook. And that's a safe place where we can come and discuss our issues, whether it be self-esteem, whether it be custody battles, whether it be separation issues. But we have to be accountable as men and start building our own mechanisms to heal and to understand ourselves better.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So, man, let's talk about that a little bit. What type of issues do you feel as though men deal with, but they really don't talk about?
First of all, mental health and emotional health. We are taught to stuff everything in, to deal with it, to compartmentalize it and move on. And the danger is that it builds up over time. And when it does come out, it comes out usually in a negative way. It comes out in the form of substance abuse, neglect, not being a man, not being accountable. So we really have to, change that trend now while we can, because one thing the pandemic taught us is that mental health affects everyone.
Yes.
And so while we are aware of that now we have to take the opportunity to change that. We can no longer say we're not aware of it. We can no longer say we don't understand it. We have resources, but we have to take action on the individual level to make it better.
There you go. No, you're absolutely right. So my question is, what do you think started the, I guess, the abandonment, if you will, for mental health for men? Like, do you think that it was, or it is a man's choice because he's looking vulnerable, or do you believe that society just does not, focus energy on helping men mental health?
I think for a long time we let the wrong people try to define what manhood is. We oftentimes listen to people who don't know what they're talking about, and your sense of manhood has to be an individual thing. And to some people, that may look like not dealing with their issues. For some people, like me, it is dealing with their issues. But there's a certain sense of stoicism that's been instilled in manhood since the beginning. And unfortunately, it's not serving us well in this day and time, because we're constantly saying, just look at domestic violence. Look at where men are the perpetrators. Look at how children are interacted with. If you notice the difference between Mother's Day and Father's Day, Mother's Day is given all the fanfare, but Father's Day is kind of almost, in some regards, not even thought of. And that's not just because of the failures of some men. That's because of what we put on men in society. We the stereotype, especially with men of color and all men, is that we're not absent.
Mhm.
Especially that we are absent, especially when it comes to situations where you're not with a mother. And one thing I'm an advocate for is teaching about opportunities about co-parenting. Find ways for men to be active, find ways to heal. And we oftentimes are at a deficit and need to heal because of our relationships with our fathers.
There we go.
That's where it all starts. I didn't, my first half of my life up to about age 26, I didn't have the best relationship with my father, and they had an effect on me. But instead of letting that affect me negatively, what I did was I wanted to make sure that I gave my child everything I did not get from my father, and then some. That was part of me healing. And through that part, my father healed, and we were able to have a wonderful relationship,
Mhm.
because I went ahead and dealt with that. I dealt with my trauma. I wanted to address it because I didn't want, in terms of, and this is the thing I'm a big proponent for. If you're a man and you have any issues with your father, no matter what they may be, go to him and talk it out. Try to talk it out, even if he's not receptive. So you can say you did everything you could to try to heal yourself. Because if you don't, it will affect you negatively. It will affect your relationships with their mothers, with your children.
All
So
right.
we have to find ways to heal and find techniques and not be afraid of it. I think a lot of it is we're afraid to face what hurts us because it's not easy.
There
But
you
we
go.
have to get over that because it's affecting our children. It's affecting our society.
No, I agree. I agree. Boy, there's a lot to unpack there. And I believe ultimately it's being able to face it, like you said, right? And hold yourself accountable with that. Right. So there was a situation with me and my father. My father was not in my life after the age of 2.
Mhm.
And so when we finally reconnected via phone, because he's in a different country in Ghana, and our conversation had to start where it is versus going back. So I could not put on him the burden of fixing the younger me that was not there, you know what I mean? That did not have him there. However, I had to do the hard work, if you will, through therapy, through really self reflection, and to create that space of wanting to heal, but wanting to forgive. That is the
Right.
hardest thing,
To do.
the
And there's-
hardest thing, because uh, it's so we're going to transition into those type of tools, but I believe sometimes being or being men, we put other men in the same level of, or even higher, especially our fathers, in a higher we put them on a pinnacle, right? Pentacle,
right,
excuse me, of he's there and supposed to fix it,
right,
but maybe he don't have the tools to fix
right,
it
right.
correctly. So it's a combination. So what I'm asking you is, what else do you think it took to start the healing process so that it would be mutual between you
Um,
and your father?
it really kind of turned a corner when my firstborn son first son was born, and it changed me because I got to see the world through his eyes as a father, and so I began to understand some of the shortcomings that he had because I've felt those same insecurities as a father, those same fears, those same thoughts. So while it didn't resolve everything,
Mhm.
it gave me tremendous insight as to why, okay, we may have lacked in our relationship in this regard because he may not have known how to articulate what he was trying to say.
That's right.
And you have to look at, generationally, what are our relationships with our fathers like?
Mhm.
Not just our fathers, but their fathers and their fathers, and try to correct what's lacking.
That's right.
And it took therapy. That's one thing I'm also a strong advocate for. As for men, getting into therapy and being able to have an objective person to kind of bounce what you're feeling off of to see where you are and seeing ways to heal. And one thing that I'm glad that you mentioned was forgiveness.
Mhm.
You have at some point you have to stop bearing a grudge for past incidents to work past them. That's not saying you forget them, but forgiving and forgetting are two different things. You
That's
can
right.
forgive and still move on with a thought of what happened and still approach that person with a sense of caution. That's forgiveness.
Mhm.
But a lot of people equate that with forgetting, which means, oh, it's all good. No, you can forgive and still feel away, but you
Mhm.
have to forgive in order to move on. You can't do that and still have that burden and have that albatross around your neck.
Mhm. No, you're absolutely right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Mr. George Brooks. Okay. We're having a great conversation about healing fathers, and make sure you go and support him, right? Check out his website. It's at the bottom. But those of you that's listening, the Meta Association, metaassociation.org. And also, too, you can help him out by contributing to his Cash App. It's the $ Meta Association. Okay. Meta Association. So, we're talking about not just the healing process with our fathers, but now, how do you believe it has helped you to become a better father?
Made me empathize more. One thing I try to do is put myself in my children's shoes, even for a second when I'm dealing with an issue. It's made me more vigilant. I fought for my oldest son in the courts for years due to his mother being found unfit. And that's hard because you're dealing with those societal norms.
Mhm.
And whereas the mother is thought to be the only parent, I've had situations where I've taken him to the doctor, where I've taken him to daycare, and I was asked, "Where's his mother?" And my assertion is, it doesn't matter. I'm his father.
Mm.
Just that blatant disrespect happens. And also you deal with people who have their own issues with maybe their child's father, and they transpose that on you. Just honestly, that happens a lot.
Mhm.
So you have to deal with that. So it can be rough being a father, especially when you're not with a mother. And that's where co-parenting comes in, and it's so vital when you can do it. You have to understand, being a father, you're only responsible for yourself. You cannot control other people's reactions. You cannot make someone conform to what you want, even if it is for their benefit. So if you're blessed enough to have your child's mother be willing to collaborate, willing to work with you, then take advantage of it. If you don't, do the best you can for yourself. The whole point is for you to be whole and your child to be whole. Those are your responsibilities, not how everybody else feels.
Mhm.
And I know situations too where everyone has 2 cents to say when it comes to the father, the grandmama, the aunties. You have to block those people out because the child only has two parents.
Mm. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. How you doing, Miss Green? How you doing? Yes, that is a good word, man. You're absolutely right here. Needed that. And so, man, let's talk about this. I believe that, and this is just my personal opinion,
Mhm.
that the individuals, or when you come together in a relationship, right? You
Mhm.
male, female, right? Woman, man, you get it. Individuals come into the situation with baggage. Okay. They
Right.
come into the situation with baggage, but then we try to place our issues on the child and try to fix those things through our child and our children, but without fixing them ourselves and as individuals first, and then together. How detrimental to you do you think that is to our children?
It's extremely detrimental because you expose them to something that's unhealthy. Not only are you transposing your feelings on your child, you're putting the child in elements of the relationship that they should not be in.
Mhm.
Unless there's abuse or something dangerous going on, a child's parents, that's their relationship, and the child only has so much to say, really nothing to say. They're a child, and we've gotten it to where we've put children in adult situations, and we don't treat them as children. That's why we have some of the problems we have. But to the bigger point about what you said was that it all starts with healing yourself first.
Yes.
My journey was one of seclusion. I took time alone. I realized my faith with God. I had to work on things on my own before I really could even address being a father or co-parent or stepfather. I'm soon to be a stepfather, so that's a whole other bad ball of wax
Mhm.
to deal with, and you can do another show just on that. But but it starts with healing yourself first. And yes, that's a selfish endeavor, but we need to get off the point of thinking that selfish always means bad. You have to be right yourself, because you know you have to deal with other people. And men, we oftentimes think we're an island and we don't need help and we don't need support. We need just as much help and support as anybody else.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you got to deal with yourself. So my process, I was dealing with addiction. My process was realizing my faith, and it started with certain things like just reading certain things philosophically, like the book of Five Rings by Masashi Miyamoto, The Richest
Okay.
Man in Babylon. It started with my mental training,
Mhm.
and once I dealt with my mental health, and once I got myself good, my addiction was easier to deal with. I've been sober about 5 years.
Oh,
Yeah,
congratulations.
I haven't had any. Yeah,
Yeah, that's dope, man.
and
Congratulations.
part thing, I really had to address why I was using. That was part, all this part of healing yourself. And men, we don't have rites of passage anymore. We don't have, things where we able to go away for a while and think and contemplate. Men are thinkers at heart, and we don't do enough of that. And yeah, I think it will really help our relationship with women, because once we get over our baggage, we can be more loving, we can be more nurturing, but we can be strong as well.
Man, I'm boy, I'm so glad you said that. You ever had a situation where you may say something over and over again, but until someone else say it, it sounds a little better to
Yeah,
them, and it's like,
yeah,
oh, really? It's almost like two people saying the same joke, but one group laugh at the other person's joke. But what
right,
you said makes so much sense. And ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you're understanding this, that thinking just thinking, taking the time, stepping away from the noise, really grounding yourself. How can I be a whole person to you when I'm only half of me for me?
hmm,
So it's not selfish. It's actually selfish if I don't,
right,
because I'm giving you something I don't have. And so therefore, I'm giving you less than. It's not arithmetic. If you think about it, it's common sense, but I do understand common sense isn't that common.
right.
So when we're in a relationship, we want the best version of that person, right? Selfishly,
Yes,
right? Since you love me, if you love me, you need to do this for me. However, if I threw that back at you, that because I love you, I have to do this for me.
right,
That's where the division is in thought. But if we, as far as men and women, don't take our separate time and go to our corners and realize, where am I at mentally,
right.
spiritually, physically? I'm not happy. I'm not well. But that does not mean that it's that other person's responsibility to make you happy, to
Right.
make you well. That's your responsibility
Responsibility.
first to identify that. Speak on that again, brother.
Well, when I went through my recovery and my journey, the first thing that I realized was a sense of accountability.
Mhm.
I was responsible for the position I was in, regardless of what anybody did.
There we go.
It wasn't what somebody did; it was how I responded to it. And I had to address that and really look at how, I had to become the person I admire.
Yes.
I had to become the best version of myself. Well, I'm still working on it. I've noticed the relationships in my life have improved. I was able to defeat a lot of demons I had.
Yes.
And I like one example as far as my ex-wife. We had a bad divorce, but she's a great mother and a good friend. And that took time, that took therapy, that took work. And I applaud her. I have a wonderful fiance. So I'm a strong advocate for women. And I feel that it's unfair that some of us men have failed where we've had to put the responsibility on women they should have never had as far as raising our boys and raising our children.
And then we're mad when the child isn't raised correctly, or we say it's because that man went in their life. Really?
Mhm.
Really?
Right.
Right? Like, for example, I'm a product, if you will, of a single parent home. However, my mother understood how important it was for me to be around men. It's a
Right.
different, instead of just being around males, because not all
Right.
males are men. You get what I mean? So it takes that time. So men and women, it's an accountability piece. Are you truly a man? Because the thing is that if me being a man, if I understand that I'm a man, if I did not have children, I'm still a father to the community. Right. So then that woman needs to understand what that father looks like in the community and how this man can help to give your son or daughter the balance that they may be lacking from in their household because of whatever circumstances. Because now we're going to transition to this. Not all relationships are meant to last. That is
Thank you.
okay. That is natural. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna say it again for those of you that's in the back, right on. Not all relationships are meant to last. That is okay. But what's not okay is when there is a child that is a product of that passion, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And because of our disdain for the relationship, we take away from the child, if that makes sense. We're not able to give that child what they need because we're saying if that person is not in our life, it's their fault. You
Right.
get what I mean? It's their fault. So talk about that a little bit, brother.
Well, and I'm a ardent supporter of women, but there are some women who do, for whatever reason, when they're not with their child's fathers, they pretty much do everything they can to diminish that relationship. I've heard things, said. We all have, and we all know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
And when that happens, they don't understand. The child ends up resenting them.
That's right.
You can't hide, things from your children when they're in the house with you.
That's right.
They can tell when a relationship isn't right. And the thing we have to keep in mind is that even though that relationship, whatever it looked like, romantic or whatever, it did not work, you still have a relationship as far as a co-parent because that
Yes.
child still has to go through graduation, still has to go through life, still has to go through marriage. And you don't want them in a position to where, okay, I'm having this big life event. I'm making this big transition. I've made this big accomplishment, but I can't have both my parents there because they want to act stupid.
That's right.
And we acted over there because you have to provide a sense of security for your children and understand it's about the child, not about the individual.
Yes.
And once you get yourself right, you may see things in an individual that may lead to a more cohesive relationship. But it's hard. It takes work, but folks don't want to invest.
Yeah.
And we are emotionally lazy. We rather go to Facebook or get on social media and drown ourselves out instead of sitting down and thinking about ways to make ourselves better. And as men, we can't afford to do that.
No. And I'm so glad you said that, man. I'm so glad that you said that. Ladies and gentlemen, we go to social media and like you said, and we drown that out and we vent there.
Right.
We don't pick up the smartphone. Who's the fool? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You won't use your phone for what it's used for or meant for and meant to be, to make that conversation or to make that connection. Because I think another thing too, part of the issue is we assume individuals know how you feel. Right. We assume that because we're not connecting with each other, you know why we're not connecting. So there's no reason for me to bring it to your attention. That's not true, right? Because life happens to everyone all the time, and life is going to continue to happen. So you can't expect, what happens, brother? Sometimes individuals play the proverbial peekaboo game. Okay. It's almost like, all right, so since I can't see it, it ain't there no more. Then there it is. Wait a minute.
Right.
Let me do something else so I can act as though. And everybody that's listening right now, I have my hands covering my eyes. So therefore, I don't see the true issue that's in front of me. And I'm expecting for that to disappear. But the depression comes in when you still see it.
Right.
Right.
When
When
you
you
do
still
all that, and that's how addiction
Yeah.
came up. It's the same thing, because you get into a cycle where you're using just akin to closing your eyes, but when you're done, the problem is still there. And we really have got to get to a point where we deal with those emotional traumas and things, because men are insecure. We have a lot of pressure on us. We have a lot of standards on us.
Yes.
And we need women to support us, and we need to support them.
That's
But
right.
we got to heal as individuals.
Right.
So, I'm getting to where I urge men, take you a weekend and get you a cabin in the woods, get you a hotel room, get you someplace alone, cut your social media off, and just think about yourself, what you want for your family, who you want to be. And you may realize things about yourself that you didn't know.
That's
You may
right.
find talents and aptitudes you didn't know you have. And it's all about maximizing our potential and being positive, because that's what we need in our communities. And that's what we need in this society.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Mr. George Brooks. Everybody, listen, he got this outstanding website where that you can check it out. It's metaassociation.org, and you can support him on Cash App, $ Meta Association. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about healing fathers, and it's a self thing. And it's not just a by yourself thing, it's a communal thing. The crazy part is, y'all heard the statement that it takes a village to raise a child. Adults are just older children.
Right.
If that makes sense, right? So it still takes a village to raise each other. Just because you are of the age of an adult does not mean you know it all.
Yeah. And I think that's something that plagues us, man. I think a lot of times, I know this probably was the case for me. You think when you hit a certain age, you're going to have it all figured out.
There it is.
You think when I hit 30, I'll have it. Then you turn 35, then you turn 40. I'm 44, and I'm still learning every day.
And the crazy part is with that too, that's when more depression comes, because we feel as though, because I'm 30, because I'm 35, I need to know this. Or because I'm 40, I should have had this. Boo, boo, boo. When do you give yourself grace to say, wait, why would you have that?
Right.
Think about it.
What experience have you had that led you to that? And see, we got to be patient with ourselves.
Yes.
We put too much pressure on ourselves, and it ends up making us deviate from a path that can get us that desired result.
Yes.
So we have to work on ourselves, and like I said, think and communicate. That's one thing that we really need is men, is communication, because we are not taught initially to communicate. We're not taught to emote. We're not taught to talk out our feelings until it gets to the point where we blow up. And that was a problem that I suffered from. It took me years to correct it. So I'm really big on communication. Talk to your kids. Get to know your kids. Just don't talk at them. I see a lot of parents, they talk at their kids, but they don't have conversations with them.
Yeah.
And I'll call my kids and I just have conversations with them, just find out what's going on, and keep that communication open. Keep that communication open with the mothers. Keep that communication open with society. And especially if you have a circumstance like I do in raising a child with a mental illness, that's a whole other ball of wax. And one thing to men is I don't want to be negative, but I'm going to say this because this happens. Don't let a bitter woman make you think that you don't have any more right to your child than she does. That's one thing we fall into, thinking that the court system is always going to favor the mother. That's not always true. So if you're a man and you're not with a mother and it's not an optimal situation, go to court, get you an attorney, fight for your visitation, fight for your custody, fight for your rights for your child. Because if you don't, you'll regret it. And that child needs to see an outward effort of you to commit to them. So be careful and be mindful of the time we spend with our children, and be careful that we aren't bringing our bitterness, into that situation, that we're keeping that time pure and clean. And that's really, really important.
Wow. You're right. You're absolutely right. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. This is the first time we've had dialogue like this on the show. Shout out to everyone that's watching right now. I see you, Miss Nadine. Listen, she's all the way in UK, waking up, staying up to watch this. You know what I mean? Miss Yvette, thank you. She says it's sad that men have to fight for their children's, but they do. You're absolutely right. Yep. Yep, Ms. Green, how you doing? And we have a Facebook user. And again, y'all, if y'all don't go to streamyard.com/Facebook, your name won't pop up. But I thank y'all for, watching and tuning in and sharing this. But here, I do want to make sure that you guys get this information for Mr. George Brooks. Y'all can go and check out his website. It's at www.metaassociation.org. And you can support him also on Cash App, $Meta Association. Man, this was good. This was real good. It was refreshing. It's inspiring. And it's inspiring not only from my perspective for men, but also for women that are in certain situations where maybe you can take a time to truly listen to what the man is saying, and for parents to stop talking so much and start listening. What I've started to do with my daughter is doing a little bit more, I guess, asking her more open-ended questions, not to stump the chump, but to understand how she thinks. That is the most important thing. And it's amazing. I'm like, wow, you're a dope little girl. Now she's 11 years old. And of course I'm biased, right? Because, that's my baby. But listening to how she views the world. And it's so beautiful to me. But it really took me to get out of myself saying, I'm the daddy. I need to, boom, just give you this fire hose full of stuff when I may be missing opportunities to just love her.
Right.
For who she is, and say, well, doggone, look at you. Go on it. Let me go on about my business and let you do you. But to let her know I'm here. Right. I'm here to lean on. If you want to vent, cool. Now, of course, if you get out of line, I'm gonna put you back in line. That's my job. You understand? But ladies and gentlemen, this has been a great opportunity to and a great conversation with Mr. Brooks talking about healing fathers, man. But I want to thank you again, brother. Hey, I want to give you 1 minute for you to say whatever it is that you want to say to our audience, man. You got the floor, brother.
All right. Well, my nonprofit Meta Association, we're working on developing a co-parenting program for my son's former school to try to help the parents and help the children. So that's something we're working on. And I'm also working on Meta Men's Mentality, which is going to be an online support group for men. So those donations are really integral to programs we want to start, our efforts in the community. And I want to thank everyone for listening. And please visit at metaassociation.org. And you can also catch me on Facebook under George P. Brooks. So thank you, and I appreciate it.
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you, man. And listen, if there's anything that I can do, to help, even to be a part of your organization and society, to connect with those individuals, please reach out, let me know. And then also too, man, we have a plethora of individuals that I'm sure is interested to help you with your efforts, even just to help get the word out there.
Right. And another big thing I'm doing, I'm embarking on a public speaking career, so I'm available for bookings also.
Okay, awesome. We'll keep going with that, man, because you have a word. You have a word, and I appreciate you. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I want to, and you stand by, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for being here, being on Healed. And this is what we do. This is what we need, essentially, because there's a lot of things that's going on in the world right now. We can't help that. We can't control that. But what we can do is control us, and we can control the way that we heal. And the process starts with you first. I love you all. I will be seeing you soon. Stay warm, stay cool, and I will talk to you later.